So, like I said, overall, and I think you'll agree by the time we finish this, that overall the mistakes were test-taking skills, like not reading the question, perhaps not preparing enough, although you prepared. It depends on who you are, right? The reason why you didn't do well on this test. I think overall, I want to say that I would say the majority did well. A good group in the middle did not so well, and about 20 or 30 kids out of 100 did really poorly. Now, I need you to try to adjust your attitude a little bit. And what do I mean by attitude? I don't mean that you're being disrespectful. That's not what I mean by attitude. I mean, look at this as not as a failure. Don't look at this as a failure. You look at this as an opportunity to learn from where you did not do well. Why do I say that? Because you can retake the test, right? And we're doing the remediation now in class. So you don't have to stay after school to do the remediation. I'll be here after school the way I've been here after school for the last week and a half or so, right? Since the beginning of the quarter for the most part. But I'll be here after school today. I'll be here after school tomorrow until about 3:45, 3:50. Remember, Thursdays are when my wife needs the car, right? And I'll be here on Friday after school as well. This next Saturday school isn't for a while. But really, you don't have to depend on Saturday school. You know I'm here after school. You know I'm here before school. You know you have, what's that called? Help me, advisory, right? And we have silent study on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Does that make sense? All right, so there's really a lot of support here. There shouldn't be any issues. But let's go ahead and take a look at this. Unfortunately, the questions are broken up on different slides, but that's okay. We'll deal with it. You can write on your answers. I already put them in the grade book. The mistake that your percentages that are on that paper are not accurate, okay? They're higher. Remember, there was out of 20, and my original key said out of 21. So the percentages on Jupiter grades is accurate, okay? The key is correct. So now let's go ahead and do this. So the question reads: when a cell is used when a cell used energy to transport a particle through its plasma membrane toward the side of higher concentration, the cell is using what? Active transport, right? And so the answer is active transport. And what were the key elements that told you what those answers were? Right, towards a higher, that's right, excellent. So towards a higher concentration, that was a key. And the other one was, so if it's going towards a higher, that means it's going from low to high. So that's a big clue, right? And then the other thing that was a clue was what? Used energy. So as soon as you see transport used energies from low to high, you know it's active transport. Okay? On this question, 65% of the people got it right. 65% of the people got it right.
And that's all your classes?
That's all the classes. There's about 12%. I'm just going to put percent on the first one. 12% chose A, and 9% chose B, C. No, I'm sorry, that was 8% for B and 9% for C. It's actually 55%, or 55 people. These are people. These weren't percent. I'm sorry. I messed that up. So 12 people chose, of the people that took the test, 12 people chose A, 9 people chose C, and 8 people chose B. And the percent right was 65%. Of course, 55 people chose D. So if you chose one of these other ones, the question is what was going on? Why? You can see that most people by far knew that this was what the answer was, right? So if you didn't know the answer, then why, right? And it doesn't matter, it's not a judgment. It's why, the reason that you need to know why you chose the wrong one is so that you can fix it for when you retake it, okay? All right, so if you poured Kool-Aid, now this one was interesting. A lot of people, this one, only 50% of the people got it right. And I can tell you why, because I talked to people about this. We've already went through some tutoring on it. So it says, if you poured a Kool-Aid package into the pool, the Kool-Aid will become evenly distributed throughout the water. Through what method? Now, when people read this, based on my conversations, right, my debriefing, when people read this, they focused on this. That's the word they saw, water. So as soon as they saw water, what did they think? Osmosis. But that's not the subject of the sentence. The subject of the sentence was what?
The Kool-Aid.
The Kool-Aid, which is the particles. So it's the solute, right? The solute, or the particle. So at that point, when you chose osmosis, you were wrong because they weren't talking about water. So now you know why you're wrong if you chose osmosis. It's about reading the question and carefully identify, always rephrase it. What are they asking me? What are they really asking me? Test-taking skills, right? So again, about 50% of the people chose the right answer. And let me see. About 30 people chose, about 42 people chose A, which is diffusion. That's the right answer. It is diffusion. About, not 40, I did 42% again. Unbelievable. Sorry about that. So 42 people chose A, 30 people chose B. So obviously, you see where the mistake is, right? You see that almost the same amount of people that chose the right answer chose the wrong one because the wrong one they thought water, osmosis. It's good thinking. Water's moving, osmosis, correct. But that's not the question. The question was why did the Kool-Aid diffuse or spread out? And the Kool-Aid spreading out is diffusion, right? So then, facilitate diffusion, C, 11 people chose that, and I don't know why. If you chose facilitate diffusion, you have to ask yourself, do I know what facilitate diffusion is? Because facilitate diffusion, what does facilitated mean? You need help. So you need a protein. Very good. So then active transport, again, one person chose active transport. So if you're that one person that chose active transport, why? Why did you choose that? You have to answer. You don't have to answer it to me. If you want to retake this test, I need to see that you've written these answers to these questions down for yourself. I need to see that you've actually listened and analyzed it. I don't want you retaking a test just to retake it.
Can I get
You go look for it. All right, so here says the process, the diagram below shows what cell process. Now, let's look at the diagram, analyze it. You see there's a something down here. What is this? Who can tell me what this is, this whole thing? There's the plasma membrane here, right? What's this? It's a vesicle with something in it. It could be a food vacuole, it could be waste, it could be hormones or something, right? Whatever, it's a vesicle. And what does the arrow mean? It's going. It's going. Where is it going? Where is this? Is this inside or outside? That's inside. That's right. So this is inside. Oops. This is inside. So one of the first things you always have to do to orient yourself is what's inside and what's outside. So there's inside, there's outside. Now the question is, the vesicle's moving. So is this stuff going in or out?
Out.
It's going out. Look at the arrows. It's going out.
Exo.
So it's exo because remember we said exit, exo. Exit, exo. So it's exocytosis is the answer. So now let's look at the distribution. Who could guess where most people answered this question? What did most people answer?
I don't know.
Just make a guess.
Exo.
Exo. They chose exo. 83% of the people got this right. So 83% got it right. So that's good. That's good news, right? It is, but you get confused. You look at it, some people, they look at a diagram and look at a drawing, they're like, oh, I don't know what's going on, help me. That happens to all of us, man. It happens to all of us. Sometimes, I mean, you can talk to your parents. It happens to all of us all the time. Confusion happens, right? Especially when you're stressed, which is why you have to prepare for the exam. Because the more you prepare, the less the stress impacts you. But you're always going to have stress when you're taking a test. You can't help it. So out of all the people that took this test, 70 people chose EXO. 6 people chose facilitated diffusion. 5 people chose endo. So about 5 of you were, you know, there's a number of you that are confused, but 5 of you reversed it, right? 5 of you got the opposite. And out of D, only 2 people chose D, right?
What is that?
It doesn't exist. It's a made-up word, right?
You just made that up.
I didn't. This was a test. This is a standardized exam. I didn't write this test. This was written for. This is like an end of course, an old
Like the bios.
standardized exam. So no, this doesn't exist. It's a pretend word, biocytosis. I don't even know what that means, but it makes no sense. Well, I mean, bio is real, cytosis is real, but the two together, what does it even mean? But facilitated diffusion, you should know what it is. If you don't know it, if you chose facilitated diffusion, why? And if you chose endocytosis, why? That's what I wanted to see when you're telling me you want to retake the test. I want to see the answers to these questions. That is your remediation, right? Write it down on a sheet of paper as we're going through it. All right. And of course, I'm recording this and I'm going to forward it to you. So when a cell uses a protein to pass a particle through a membrane, what's it called? Facilitated. I mean, let's go, right? I agree. Let's go. So 4. See, this is not right. Am I lying when I tell you that we covered this material? So it should be these are real simple like definition questions. Do you know your definition? So it's A, and the question out of 47 people chose A. 47. 56% of the people got it right. 47 chose A. C, 17 people chose C. 12 people chose osmosis, and D, 12 people chose D. And so if you chose anything other than A, you have to ask yourself why. Now I believe on your exam, I thought this was what I printed. Yes, of course, yeah. I'm sorry, I saw your hand up, but I thought it was just sorry. So we should know it's facilitated diffusion, right? Now, could it have been active transport? Yeah, it could be, because active transport also uses proteins to cross the membrane. It could have been. But what's the best answer? Phospholipids.
We're not.
You went on to the next. I'm like, oh Lord. All right, so anyways, number 4. You could have chosen B or D and been in the realm of possibilities, but that wasn't the best answer. Given these 2 choices, A is the best answer. On multiple choice exams, another test taking skill is that you have to make a choice. What's the best answer?
You said you would have been the second.
But D would have not acceptable, because the question on a multiple choice exam is what's the best answer. A is the best answer. But it's reasonable that somebody might get confused and choose active transport. These 2 are not reasonable. These are not reasonable. If you're one of these people that chose B or C, then I'm questioning whether you understand what diffusion and osmosis are, or did you read the question wrong? So I need an answer to that question. Why did you choose your wrong answer if you chose that answer? So again, choose the best answer. All right, 5. 88% of the people got it right. So that makes sense, because 5, I honestly feel that this should have been 100% of the people. This was a gimme. What's the answer? Phospholipids. There's no other answer that's reasonable here. It says now. Somebody might say, well, it's a membrane, so you definitely have proteins, right? Yeah, that's true. And If it's an animal membrane, then it has cholesterol. Yeah, you're right on that too. But what's the best answer? Phospholipids. Why? Because what's the membrane made mostly of? I mean, that should be like in your head, right? I mean, that should be like my name is, membranes are, right? I mean, that's it. Yeah, they have it. There's the head, there's the tail, and that's what you see mostly. And yeah, this might be a little confusing here because it's a little weird looking, but those are just little tails turning off and interacting with each other. But whatever, you know it's the answer. I could have not drawn it and just said there's a membrane. What is it made mostly of? Phospholipids. I mean, it doesn't. You don't even need to see it, but they even drew it for you. And carbohydrates. And yes, there are carbohydrates, proteins, and cholesterol in the cell membrane. Yes, but it's mainly made of phospholipids. Given those choices, the only real reasonable best answer is phospholipids. 60% of the people got this one right. And I don't know if it was because of the not question or what. Which of the following is not a passive transport process? So which was not passive? Endocytosis. So for sure people think, what happens with these, this is infamous. This is kind of the caution, right? This is where people always get. In fact, I always tell kids when they're doing standardized exams, I don't want to print 100 copies of the test every time I give you a test, right? So I don't let you write on the test. I give it to you when we're done, whoever wants it, but I don't want to print out a test for everybody. That's kind of silly. But on a standardized exam, one of the things I do, and I encourage you to do, is circle or underline the word not. And if you're doing your own test and you can't write on a test, then on your scrap paper, write number 6, not. Write the word not, so that you don't get that confused. And so when it says not, if you know your definitions, then you know what the answer is, even if you didn't see the word not. Because here, let's go through the logic of this. Which of the following is not a passive transport process? Okay, so I didn't see the word not. Passive transport. Well, diffusion, is that passive transport? Yeah, that's passive transport. Okay, maybe it's diffusion because I didn't see the word not, right? Okay, maybe that's it. All right, okay. Osmosis. Wait, osmosis is passive too. So do I choose both? Is this choose all that apply? I don't know. I don't see choose all that apply. And facilitated diffusion. Wait a minute. Diffusion, that's passive transport too. Holy cow, what could the answer be? There's 3 right answers. Mr. Mendoza, and I have gotten this. I did get people actually on this test come. Mr. Mendoza, this is wrong. They're all passive. These 3 are all passive transport. Did you make a mistake? No. Look at the word. And sometimes I do make mistakes. You know that. So that's not. So it's possible. But I didn't in this case. The word not means it can't be those 3. So when you're on a standardized exam and you see that there's 3 right answers, what you have to start saying is, before you jump to there's a mistake on a test, is you have to ask yourself, wait, am I making a mistake? Let me reread the question. And then when I go to reread the question, there's that word not. So the not means this is passive, and this is passive, so this is the only one that could be. And remember what endocytosis is. There it is. Think about how much energy it takes for this thing to swallow something up. You need energy to swallow something, right? So this cell is doing a lot to get this into itself. No, that's endocytosis. Yeah, 7 is endocytosis. Yeah, it could. Things moving across the membrane. I could say, we all make mistakes. So it's not really about, the question is, let me make sure I don't repeat that mistake, right? That's what I want. I don't want people repeating the mistake. So we know it's not diffusion because of the word not. We know it's not osmosis. We know it's not facilitated diffusion. All right. So the next one says, I think that's clear. Again, if you chose, I should tell you what the percentages were. 6. For number 6, 50% of the people chose D. So 50 people, 60%, but 50 people. And C, 19 people chose facilitate diffusion, 12 people chose osmosis, and 2 people chose diffusion. So, again, I think this 40% of the people here did not see the word not, right? That's the only thing I can think of. Or you don't know what passive transport is. But whatever the answer is, I want to see it written down when you're ready to retake this test. I need to know that you've thought about this. I don't want you wasting your time and keep repeating. And plus, it's hard for me to find good questions and enough good questions for you to keep retaking these tests. All right, number 7, which cellular process is illustrated in the diagram below? Endocytosis. And you might ask yourself, well, wait, where's this going? Why is it endo? Remember, let me write the right answer. Endo means like enter, right? The word enter. And you have to ask yourself, where is this particle going? The particle is going in, so it's entering. The other one was exo, where were the particles going? Out. And you know what? Another test-taking skill, you look at a diagram and you're confused. What someone told me this morning is they were confused with the first diagram, but then they went to the next question and saw another diagram, and they were opposite. One was going in and one was going out. So they knew the one was going in was endo, and so they put the other one was exo. That's good test-taking skills. That's the use of knowledge, the use of logic, right? So even if you get confused, like we all get confused, use the test to help you. Use reference points on the test to help you orient yourself. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So let's look at the next question. 8. And excretion, by the way, was a ridiculous answer. Excretion means pooping, and putting it out, right? Things go. It is leaving, stuff leaving, yes. But it's not cellular, right? All right, the process of osmosis would explain the net movement of water into the cell. So this is where I keep telling you guys to draw these things out, right? Draw them out, draw them out, draw. I keep saying that. So what am I saying? So osmosis, I just always draw the little beaker with a cell in it, or flask, if you will. And the question is net movement into the cell. Well, what makes water move into the cell? Hypotonic. Hypotonic. So hypo means low, outside, and if the solution is hypotonic, then water's going to move in. And they're saying water, aren't they? Yes, they are. They're saying water. Before I go through and draw all 4 of these, and watch how fast I draw them, and I think a lot of you can draw them this quickly. I saw people draw them very quickly on the test. I encourage you to draw it even if you knew it right away what the answer was, because it can get confusing. So number 8, what you have is 63% of the people got it right, and 53 people chose D, which is the right answer. 16 people chose C, 6 people chose A, and 6 people chose B. So really, for most people, it was between C and D. And most people got it right, but some people got confused. The people who chose B, I think, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that one of the issues is you're not reading well. You're not paying attention. Because people that chose B, this says protein, you see. If you see protein and they're asking you the net movement of water, then you're not either reading the question right, you're not reading the answer right. And again, why are you not reading it correctly? Because of stress. I understand it, but the way you improve it is you work harder and you take your time, you take deep breaths, you take it one question at a time, you kind of cancel out wrong answers. These are tools that help you deal with the stress. So let me say this. The first one, water is 80% inside the cell, 80% outside. You know that's what? Isotonic. I don't have to even draw that because it's iso, so that means there's no net movement. And they're telling me, what am I looking at? I'm looking at water moving in, so it can't be A, right? So, and I already said this is protein, so it can't be B. So those 2 are canceled out for me, right? So I only have 2 choices. I only have to draw 2. So if I draw C, C says I have a cell. It's 85% inside, I'm not gonna draw the percent sign because it's, oh, you know what, I can, so let me draw it. I can draw it by zooming in. So it's 85% inside, and what is it outside?
80.
80 outside, right? So it's 80 outside. So this is what? Hypotonic. Hypo. All right, hypotonic. All right.
Oh, you just write your Y's.
Yeah.
They look like jeans.
Yeah, so hypotonic, so 85% water. Now, you put percent, and this is another way you get confused, right? Because if you say 85%, you're thinking what? Solute, right? But this is, so this is not hypotonic, I misspoke. Oops. So whoever said it before was right. You were right, you were right, you were right, you were right, you were right. See, we all get confused, that's why you draw it, right?
I'm about to
And
say
stressed,
that's
I'm
right
stressed, yeah. I'm in front of the class, I got kids talking to me, I'm nervous, I'm gonna make a mistake, and what do? I make a mistake.
answer. You recording.
That's all right, and I'm gonna leave it recorded, because we all make mistakes, right? So it's not about not making a mistake, it's about checking yourself and getting it right anyways. So here's 85% inside, 80% water outside, right? So so this is hypertonic. Why is it hypertonic? And I know it's confusing. Well, that's true, but it's hypertonic because what are we talking about? When we say tonic, what are we talking about? The solute. Solute, right? And which one has less solute? Outside has less solute. That's not true. I'm getting all confused.
I thought it was the
It's
salt.
more solute. That's right, you got it. There's more solute because there's less water. Good job. Right? More solute because there's less water. That's why it's hypertonic. But there's an easier way to know this, right? So this is when if you were thinking about hypertonic. But what if we just didn't do this? What if we didn't worry about hypertonic or hypotonic? What if we just looked at one thing? Remember I told you there was two ways to look at the problem? All right, so let's look at it the other way. What's the other way to look at the problem? Water is high where? Inside. And how did things move? From high to low. So water's moving out. So when they give you percent water on these problems, then all you really need to do is just remember high to low. But they give you percent solute, then you go with the hypertonic or hypotonic. Does that make sense? All right.
What is net movement?
Remember, water's moving in both directions, right? So to show you net movement, what I've done in the past is I show a big arrow one way. What am I going to do the other way? A small arrow going in, because they're moving in both directions. What's the net? The big one plus the small one. So if 20 are moving out, 5 are moving in, what's the net?
25.
Well, the net is minus, it's 15. Are moving which way? Out. Net, again, means after you've added and subtracted everything, what do you got left? So some stuff is going in, some stuff's going out, but what's my net? It's moving out. All right, so that's net. Don't get too confused over those words, but that's what they mean. And where do they use that word? Here, net movement. All right, so how do you feel about that? Did that all make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and you can see that people get confused, and that's why I want you to draw it out. I want you to work it out, right? All right, the diagram represents a cell in water. Formulas of molecules that can freely move across the membrane are shown. Some molecules are located inside the cell, and others are in the water outside the cell. Based on the diagram of molecules below, what would most likely happen to these molecules after a few hours?
Oh, this is.
Now,
I said,
let me tell you.
I counted all.
I talked to some kids, and some kids told me I was confused with all these letters and numbers. Yeah, there's no reason to be confused. You don't need to know what they are. You should know. You should know what most of these are, but you don't need to, okay? Test taking skills. So this, for instance, is sugar, C6H12O6. I've told you like a million times, but again, doesn't matter if you know it. You're right, that is isotonic. That's right. They're equal. So then this, of course, is oxygen, right? This is oxygen. And this CO2 is obviously carbon dioxide. And then the last one is this ammonia, right? So again, it doesn't matter what they are. It doesn't matter. What I saw somebody do was phenomenal. It was a really great idea. What they did, they sat there. Let me change colors because, oh, you know what? I'm not going to change colors. I'm going to make this smaller. What, you want to turn off the light? Yes. So what they did is they said, dude, just say, oh, all I had to do was put outside, inside. Right, I know, I saw you do it, and I saw some other people do it too. And they put oxygen, they put CO2, they put C6H12O6, and they put NH3, right? So that's what they had. Some people drew lines, some people repeated the formulas in the other column, whatever. And what they did is outside, they counted. They said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 outside, and they said CO2 was 1 outside, and this was 2 outside, and this was 1. And then for inside, they said O2 was 2, and CO2 was 1, 2, 3, 4, and C6H12 was O6 was 2, and ammonia was 1. You see what they did?
Yep.
Wasn't that genius? Wasn't that genius? I didn't. I just counted them when I did it. I didn't. It's a table. I didn't draw a table either. But I thought drawing a table was a phenomenal idea. I was like, wow, that's really good. It's time consuming, but it's worth it if you get it right and you're quick with some of the other questions, right? So really, it was really brilliant, I thought, to do this. I didn't even think of doing it. And so then outside is 5 for oxygen, so it's higher outside. So in what direction is it going to move? It's going to move from outside to inside. The CO2 is going to move which way? From inside to out.
Outside.
And these are going to move in both directions equally, right? And these are going to move both directions equally. So there's no net movement. So, that's pretty cool, right? And if you wanted, so now let's go ahead and take a look at what the answers are and compare them to our table, right? Oh, what the heck. All right. So we'll see what the right answer is in a minute. The concentration of oxygen will increase outside the cell. False, because oxygen is moving inside, so that's not true. All right. The concentration of NH3 will increase inside the cell. No, why?
Because it's
Same, right? There's no change. Remember, triangle means change. No change in concentration because they're moving equally on both sides, so it's not B. So D, let's go to D real quick. Concentration of C6H12O6 will increase inside the cell. That's also not true because, again, what? No change, so that's not true. The only possible, bless you, right answer is C, but double check and read it, make sure it's right. The concentration of CO2 will increase outside the cell. Well, CO2 is going from inside to outside, right? So yes, that's correct.
yes.
So this is 9. So everybody agree, though, that this is material that really makes sense, right?
Yes.
Okay. So again, what happened on the test? Well, what happened on the test is that stress got to you. That's what happened, I think. Some people, sure, some people didn't prepare. Some people were confused and didn't come to tutoring. But the vast majority of kids know this stuff. I know it because I tested you already on it. And you've answered questions. So any mistakes, I believe, was due to stress. So next question. What would happen if you place a plant cell in a hypertonic solution? Now, right away, I'm gonna do it the easy way, then we'll go back and show you some of the questions and why. I see hypertonic solution.
And automatic.
I see the word cell. And automatically, I'm thinking I could just draw it without, I like to draw the question too, not just the answer, right? So I draw this, and I draw this, and I draw this, and I say hypertonic. And what in my mind, I automatically do this, right? So water's leaving, so what does that mean? Shrink, right? Boom, I'm done with, I don't know what they're asking me. I don't know what they're asking me. I just know that that's a setup, right? I know that based on what it is. Just these two words, cell and hypertonic, that's all I'm thinking. I'm thinking cell, hypertonic, I'm thinking this, right? So now, if you place a plant cell in a hypertonic solution, what's going to happen? The plant cell will take in water and bust. Take in water and bust. It's not take in, right?
A was the
It's-
right answer?
Well, let's go through this. Please wait. Is the cell going to swell?
No.
Is it going to take water in? No, that's not the answer, right? So that can't be the answer. What did we say it was? Shrink. We said it. We already have the answer here. We're only looking. All we're doing now. We already did all the hard work over here, and it took us like 10 seconds to draw it. But what is the right? Just choose the right answer now, carefully, because it could be tricky, right? The word's not, and how exactly they phrase it. So let's look at it. So the water will go out of the plant cell, and then it will shrink. The cell will shrink. Sure, that sounds right. I'm going to circle it, but you know what? Am I going to stop there? No, I'm going to test taking skill. You keep going. Make sure that you got it. That you got it right. Check your answers. The water will travel in and out of the cell, in and out of the plant cell. Well, that's true. Water will go in and out of the plant cell, but it has the net movement out. All right. So C is kind of a reasonable answer, but which one's better, B or C?
B.
B. So I'm going to choose B. I'm going to take that one out. So the condition of having a high solute concentration on one side of the membrane will remain constant. No, that doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, how many percent?
Oh, yeah. Good question.
Because I feel like people chose that. Some people might have chosen that because it's a longer.
Hey, okay, I don't know. I didn't look at that one. Let's look at number 10. Number 10 says, what I see for number 10 is 55% of the people got it right. And I want to say, it looks like 46 people chose the right answer. 26 people chose A. That's the biggest next answer, which is, so that makes sense. Most people knew it was either out or in. And so the 26 people weren't sure, they got confused, they picked A. Okay, I can accept that.
When I hear hyper, for some reason I think it's first.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Write that down. So if you're planning on retaking a test, write that down, because that's something you've got to fix. When you see hypertonic, you got to think the thing's shrinking. You see hypotonic, you got to think the thing's swelling.
Yeah, looks like.
Right? You got to get that straight in your head.
It's like reverse a little bit.
Yeah. However you want to think of it, but that's what's happening. So C, 6 people chose C, and 5 people chose D. So actually, most people didn't choose D because of, they didn't choose the one that had the longest answer. So that's good. It wasn't just a guess. They got it wrong. That's not great, but it's a really fine opportunity because they got it wrong even though they were trying to figure out what was right. They were in the right area. All right, number 11. 74% of the people got this one right. Which structure permits the entry of exit dissolved materials in animal cell? Again, oh my God, I expected everybody to get it. Plasma membrane, yeah. I'm not sure what was confusing about this, but it says, look, let's read it together again. What structure, and you're thinking of structure, you're thinking it's some kind of organelle or something in a cell, maybe, permits the entry and exit, letting things go in and out. I mean, we've been talking about that all for like a month, right? I'm not sure what the answer is. Well, the answer for 11 is D, yeah. So the answer is D, and it's cell membrane, and I don't want to go into what all the others do. Let's move on. I think that was an easy one. Number 12, 82% of the people got 12 right. Blank is the movement of materials from higher to lower concentration. It's passive transport, right? So everybody, I have to say that there were some people, for number 12, 12 people did choose active. That means what? You don't know what active and passive are, right? You don't know what active and passive are. Hydrolysis is, where is it? 13, no, 12, sorry. C is 2 people chose C, and only 1 person chose vehicular transport. Vehicular, now, you know, I know what happened. They put this on here on purpose. They put vehicular, and some people read vesicle, right? Transport with vesicles. But vehicular means car or truck. A vehicle. I know. Only 1 person chose that. Probably it was just a wild guess. Stop, don't say names. Don't say names yet. Let's not use names. And let's not be mean. I mean, she's playing, and Abbas likes to play too. And Abbas plays around. Oh, I said his name. Stop it. Don't say any names. Yeah, but she started it. All right, so A is wrong, C is wrong, and D is wrong. Let's move on. Blank transport involves processes such as osmosis and diffusion. Passive, done. Moving on. Diffusion and osmosis are passive. 77% of the people got it right. Guess what? Guess what? Guess. No? 17 people chose active. Can I ask you where I think how many people do you think I know don't know the difference between passive and active? How many people? About 12. There's about 12 people in the 9th grade that don't understand the difference between active and passive. How do I know that? Look at them. Right? They keep answering the reverse. But you know what's good news? Is he got it reversed. So now you know how to fix it, right? So 14, we got to hurry up. 70% of the people got it right. Everybody should know 14, so I'm not going to go into it. Lipids and proteins. It has to be lipids and then proteins. It has to be in that order. I gotta say, 13 people say protein, cholesterol and protein, and 7 people. Am I doing the right one? No, I did that wrong. 16 people chose the opposite, proteins and lipids, and 5 people chose cholesterol, and 3 people, I'm thinking there's like 2 or 3 people just wildly guessing on this. Endocytosis and exocytosis, which is really strange. It has nothing, they're just guessing. So here you just reversed it.
Can you get to 16?
71% of people got 15 right. Blank transports and movement of materials from lower concentration higher. That's active. And the answer is active. And I don't need to look at the letter, but I know. So active is A. And let me say, hold on. You're putting stuff away as usual. It's really not good. So most people chose A. 60 people chose A. 13 people chose B, passive. Again, those same 12 or 13 people don't understand the difference between active and passive. Yeah, this mechanized doesn't make sense at all. It was just a bad answer. I didn't make this test. But 3 people put extracurricular, which is nothing to do with the cell. Extracurricular is things like sports and chess. So, again, those same 3 people, they're just like, I'm just going to guess, I'm going to look up who those 3 people are and have a conversation with them. Why are the rest of the, what's going on?
Come on, next. We need 16.
I don't understand, what happened to the rest of the questions?
You said it's on a new slide.
I'm trying to get to it, there's nothing. I know, I don't know what happened to question 16. Let's go, somebody read to me 16. Yeah, let me see the test, I'll draw it. All right, I don't know why. It's time, it's almost time to go. I don't, just, but you're wasting, yeah, okay, whatever. So I'm just gonna tell you, 16, you have the question. So 16 was a difficult one. You need to see me after school. It's secondary, active transport. This was.
It's ACB.
It's A, it was A, and it was C, which is co-transport. And it was a D, the long answer as well. I'm not gonna read it. The one that it wasn't was B. That's the only one it wasn't. 17, 18, 19. Let me quickly draw it out. 17 tells you a flask instead of a beaker, but you should know what a flask is. There's X, there's Y, there's Z. In the flask X, they tell you, I told you, right? I said what's outside, what's inside. I gave you that clue during the test. You should be able to do it without the clue. And you see that the flask has 0.5% here. Let me draw it on the outside. And it says 0.5%, right? And there's a cell here, and then this Y has 0.9%, and out here is 1.5. All the cells have the same concentration. They're all 0.9. So what's going to happen in each one? This is 0.5, this is 0.9, this is hypotonic. So water's going to go in which direction? Into the cell, so that's going to swell. And this one is 0.9 and 0.9, so they're going to go in both directions equally. So this is iso, so there's no change. All right, no change, no triangle. And this is 1.5 and 0.9, so water's going out. So this is out. This is hyper, and so this is shrinking or contracting. Contracting means to shrink. No, there's 3 questions, 17, 18, and 19.
B, A, and B.
The answers were B, and then A, and then B. All right, those were the answers. This was 17, 18, and 19, right? All right, so 20, the last question on the test. We have time to answer it. Look, this is where you guys messed up. They said there were 2 situations. Draw them. Fresh water, salt water. You have a plant, straw leaf. The plant is an aquatic plant, which means it's underwater, right? It lives in the water. You don't need to draw the roots and everything. It's a plant. It's underwater. There's the water. So they ask you, they give you put this chemical and it gets rid of the cell wall. Stop. Cell wall. Which is going to be hypertonic, the salt or the fresh water? Salt's hyper. And what's the fresh water? Hypo. We all agree?
Yes.
All right, so when we're looking at this thing and they tell you what happens if you get rid of the cell wall in fresh water, what directions of water are going to move? It's the fresh water is what?
It's gonna be
Hypo, so it's going to move in, so it's going to swell. So the answer is swell and cease to function, and that letter's A. So you had to break it down. You had to break it down. There were some hard words in there. There's some words that some people didn't know, but I don't know why. It's just you did well. Yeah, you did well. All right, but I tried to make this test fairly straightforward. But if you messed up, it's because of those things that we talked about. Good luck. So when are makeups available? When are we doing retests or makeups after school? Yes, you can come today.
Can I come do an advisory?
You can come after school the whole week, except Thursday.
I come next.
And also that's tomorrow, except Thursday. You can't come tomorrow because I got to leave early. You can come, but you only have like 20 minutes to do the test. I don't think it's a good idea. I think Friday would be a good idea, or Monday of next week, whatever. Remember, Tuesday you have another test. So
What did I give this to?
what is it?
You said the test and.
Why don't you go check in the advisory, get it passed, and come back. All right, let's.